Hi everyone, welcome again to another No Gi Required, and I think it's the first one we're recording in our new house, and I'm very excited about it. And once again, I have with me Professor Jay Zabalos, one of my, I don't know how they call him anymore, my cousin, my friend, my brother, and also have Mike. Without Mike, would be no podcast. You can say thumbs up to me, Mike, if you don't want to. And today we have is a great friend of our great friend, Christian Derr, which I happen to know him for, I don't know, Christian, maybe
15 years?
20 plus years or something like that.
Long time.
But Christian also happens to be one of my black belts. He has a school in Owasso, Oklahoma, very successful. Every time I go there, I don't know, hundreds of people show up, and I don't know how he handles. But I remember the start of everything. And I have him as a guest today. And he just happened to be in town. I said, hey, sir, you got to be in our podcast. How are you, sir?
Thank you, sir. Oh, man. I'll try not to get too excited here, sitting next to JeanJacquesMachado.
Man, and when you guys watching the YouTube, you understand that people are sometimes kind of mix him with Joe Rogan, because they kind of he remembers Joe Rogan a little bit.
At least 5 times a week.
I didn't know. People go, hey, you took a picture of Joe. Oh, it's not Joe Rogan? It's like, man. But he's a great guy, one of my best black belts for sure. One of the most successful schools we have in our organization.
Thank you, sir.
And man, we go back to a few years ago,
Long time, man.
Let me start here, man. How martial arts starts in your life? How that happened? Because let's see it. How's that happen?
Yeah. You know, I'm curious because I want to talk to Jay about this because, you know, when I was a kid, Bruce Lee, Kung Fu movies, this is kind of
That was it.
You know, the beginning, right?
Yeah. For me too.
You're not alone on that.
Well, but for him, it's different, though, because imagine he was born into it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this on the way over here. It's like if I was born into it, I think because I was as a kid I was made to wrestle. I had to wrestle. It wasn't a choice, and I hated it. A big part of the time I hated it, and I couldn't wait to graduate high school so I could stop wrestling. You know, and of course, as soon as you graduate, you start missing it. But I was like, how does Jean-Jacques not? You know, Jiu Jitsu is a little bit different than wrestling for sure. But I know he had to take the beatings, man, from age 1 to probably to age 12 at least. You know,
the thing is, one thing I can say a little different is people saw Bruce Lee and a lot of martial arts movies. We are in the movies since day one, you know. we are right on the pot, like mixed with all sizes of cousins, brothers, but Jiu-Jitsu, we just live every moment not watching the movie itself. We are part of the whole process.
Yeah, but that's why one of my favorite stories is when they were training Chuck Norris down in Redondo Beach, and Jean-Jacques, tell that story. I've heard it lots of times, but tell the story how when you guys were there with all 5 brothers and you heard a knock at the door.
Man, that was he had some jiu-jitsu experience before, and I think he stopped for a little while and was doing a lot of movies back those days. And one day we have our school in our garage, and he knocked at the door, and it was one of our students brought him with him, and my English was not good at all, and I was very confused and just like I wasn't sure. Is that actually Chuck Norris or somebody who looked like him? Then I called my brother. I go, hold on. I got somebody who speaks better English.
Yeah.
And I told my brother, man, I think it's Chuck Norris there.
It's so funny to me.
Brian comes in, he's like, oh yeah, Mr. Norris, and there we go.
It's such a great story,
I
man.
know.
And that's such a great story.
But imagine that.
Yeah.
You at your house.
Yeah.
And you see some of the actors' movies, action, and especially action.
Right. Yeah.
And suddenly a guy knock at your door, you're very confused. I came all the way from Brazil, have a school in our garage, and suddenly I used to watch him in the movies back in Brazil, and now he's knocking my house.
Yes.
And that's
such a great story.
That's life, man.
But yeah, man, you know, it's so crazy because, like, you know, we watched that. I'm sure Jay had a similar experience, and then you know, you train. Luckily, I was a wrestler in elementary school, middle school, and high school, and then wrestling is obviously very effective for certain things. But as a wrestler, this is before we had UFC. thanks to Horian and a lot of the people.
And Hoist, definitely.
Yeah, for sure,
definitely.
That really changed martial arts in a way that's so great. These people around today don't understand how different it is now.
Imagine if was no victory for Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah,
we're probably not going to be here today.
That's right. That's right.
That's what people don't realize. Like, oh, no, man, if it was no winning in those events, we're not going to be here today sitting and talk about Jiu-Jitsu.
That's why when I come out here, JeanJacques, and I always try to bring my guys. And if it's a guy who's never been to California, I always try to take him to Gracie Academy so he can shake Horian's hand, because it's like, people have their opinions about Horian, you know what I mean? There's lots of ups and downs, but I say, look, man, I don't care how you feel about the guy. You better say thank you, because without this guy and a bunch of other guys, he wouldn't be here.
He opened the door for everyone.
Yeah.
If you want to sit in here and around the world in Jiu-Jitsu, it was because of him.
Yeah.
He had that idea, and
no doubt about it.
And have Hoist doing so well, and
but it was so interesting because back then you had all these karate, kung fu, taekwondo. You have different things, and some of these things are effective, some of them are not so effective. But now with what he created, it's like, man, now we can get to see, and so it changes things. So.
And you begin with wrestling, and do you remember when was your first experience with Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah. I remember, I didn't get to see UFC 1, but I remember UFC 2 took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, so my hometown, basically. And so at the time, I was actually in the military, but when I came home, all my friends were talking about this, and so I had to go check it out. Back then it was this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
We had Blockbuster Video, so like you guys remember Blockbuster Video?
Oh yeah.
So it was like several months later.
I don't think I was around that time.
But to watch that, I mean, even now you watch it, it's mesmerizing. It's amazing, it's just amazing. And, so right away, that's my first experience, probably 1995, late 1995. And so then Horian had the VHS tapes, Jay, you remember?
The action.
And I remember it was like, each one was $100, I think. And there were 6 of them. Each one was like 20 minutes long. But man, let me tell you, with those 20 minutes, I was murdering my friends. I was just murdering them just with the arm bar, And it was so funny because I remember trying to buy these. They were like expensive at the time for me. And so I went in with a friend of mine. We split the tapes. And back then, there was no school in Jiu-Jitsu. Only school was, here in L.A. And I think Henzo was in New York. And I think the Valencia brother was in Miami, maybe. But just, where we were, we didn't have anything. And so, but luckily, I always trained with, in Guru Dan Nanosano's lineage. And so these guys are constantly trying to research and stuff like that. And so, Guru Dan, as soon as something comes on the block.
Yeah, that was one of the questions, because if I'm not wrong, your beginning was through the Santa Academy.
That's correct.
With the...
That's right. Kali, JKD, and Thai boxing.
And from there, you evidently watching the tapes and all of that.
Yeah. And
because if I'm not wrong, when I met you, you were already purple belt.
Blue belt. Yeah. When I arrived, I was blue belt.
You trained at Hickson School?
I was training. So I trained in my first jiu-jitsu school that I ever trained with. It was Lynx Academy in Virginia Beach, Virginia, with a guy named Frank Cucci. He was under Pedro Sauer. Great school, great person. I got to meet Pedro Sauer, and he was really the first kind of black belt I met, and just the energy. It's very similar to you, Jean-Jacques, just the spirit of it, you know what I mean? Like, he's always happy, he's always, just something about it, man. Like, I tell people all the time, it's like, look, man, if you meet JeanJacquesMachado, even if you didn't know he trained jiu-jitsu, you would know right away, there's something special about this person, just the way he interacts with you, And so, but by then I had been training several years, not jiu-jitsu, but training martial arts several years. But when I fell in love with jiu-jitsu, obviously, like everybody, and I decided, man, this is what my life's going to be. I'm going to make my life martial arts. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I wanted to come to L.A. and train with the best. L.A. at the time was the place. And so that's when I made my journey here. And I wanted to train with Hickson. It was at the time, Hickson was fighting. Just at the time, some stuff was going on with his son Hawks and stuff like that. But anyway, I went to Hickson school a couple times, and he was, he's busy training fighting.
Yeah, like he was training for a fight. That's very hard. People sometimes don't understand. Man, you're getting ready for a fight. You can't be teaching the class as normal.
Yeah, it's
as we teach every day.
But luckily for me, either way. But what's funny? When I was listening to the podcast, I was listening to Eddie's podcast. The first school I ever went into in LA was the Bomb Squad to see Eddie. And just because I was working, the first job I took when I was in LA was right down there. It was close to the bomb squad. And when I walked in there, Eddie was teaching, but I had a friend of mine from Virginia, Brandon Vera, who was in the UFC for a long time. A great guy. And it was great. It's great to always have a friend. If you go somewhere, oh man, then you can introduce stuff like. And man, Eddie's always been to me like a great coach. He's always such an interesting guy too. You know what I mean?
Very entertaining.
But man, I like we could definitely get into him because he's such an interesting character. But I went to see Eddie, but it was almost. I had a list of about maybe 5 schools. I had criteria that I wanted, who I wanted to train with, what I wanted to be. But man, what was crazy, Jean-Jacques, is when I came to your place here in Tarzana, just the way. You taught me, man. You didn't know who I was. You didn't know me from Adam, but you just taught me. You treated me like I was a world champion, And when I bring my guys out here, I always tell them, I say, guys, I want you to pay attention in class for sure, but I want you to pay attention to everything. As soon as you walk in the door, I want you to start paying attention. I want you to pay attention to how the front desk person interacts with you. I want you to pay attention to how Jean-Jacques treats you. And last night was a great example. Jay, I don't know if you were here for this, but we had a couple guys from Eddie's coming over, the guys training for his tournament, and he had a cameraman with him and stuff like that. And you guys were sitting over here talking right here, and but there was also a guy last night who had his first class ever, the white belt. I forgot his name. And the class was over, and they're talking to you. You stopped the interview because this guy was walking out. And, in many other places, it's just some guy.
Yeah.
It's his first class. Hey, see you later. Maybe just a wave, or maybe not even that. But Jean-Jacques stopped the interview, goes over and walks the guy out, talks to him, puts his arm around him, and just makes him feel welcome. That's exactly what he did to me. You know what I mean? When I came here, and this guy's, we don't know. Maybe this guy's going to be, a world champion someday. We don't know, but just the interaction he had with Jean-Jacques, it's just.
Man, we someone comes to your school, man. I have to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Somebody comes in and the way I learned jiu-jitsu from my prior generations, man, it's treat everybody well with respect, and here we are. And I mean. Maybe he's the next world champion from me a few years from now, or maybe I don't know what line of work he is, but man, that's who we are.
Yeah, exactly. But Jean-Jacques, that's not who a lot of people are. If you go to a lot of schools, I promise you won't be treated like that. But that's that's one of the things we're going to talk about later. Maybe we'll talk about this project I'm working on. But we're not in the jiu-jitsu business. We're in the relationship business.
Yeah, absolutely.
You taught me that.
And man, how. When you make somebody feel important, you give attention.
Yes.
It changed the whole thing, because you got to keep in mind, a lot of people that come to our school, we don't know how their everyday is.
Right.
Some people, they work in a little cubicle. They have no contact with people. Nobody knows who they are. And then they maybe say hi to him or not, just go in, go out, and unnoticed.
Yes.
And man, and I think everybody deserves to be noticed. Everybody deserves a respect, And in my school, evidently, everybody has to be treated extremely well with a lot of respect. And it's been like this, you see, since your own experience.
Right.
We continue to be the same. Jay does the same thing, and Mike does the same thing. Everybody that walks in, we give the attention that they want, and probably more of what they expect.
Yeah.
That's why people want to come. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
I was thinking to see next week. No. Tomorrow I'll be back.
Yeah.
We want to make sure everybody feels welcome to our environment.
Yeah. I definitely try to, mimic that from you. And I was going to say, a lot of times I come out here with the guys, we always try to go train at Eddie's at least once. And, Eddie he won't take our money. If we train with JeanJacquesMachado, he will not take money from us.
Eddie is one of the most loyal guys that I have here in my school, and it's an incredible person. I think people that do know him have no idea sometimes, but he's an incredible person.
Yeah, but Jean-Jacques, I was thinking about this on the way over here too. There's some guys at my school, like I have an MMA fighter, I have a guy that's really good jiu-jitsu, but their personalities easily conflict with the rest of the students. A lot of the students do not like these guys, just because some of them are outspoken, some of them are this, some of them are gruff, some of them are whatever. But I remember when, it's funny, but, I know we all love Eddie, but, he's caused some problems for, not big problems, but I mean, I'll say it like this, because of his outspokenness, this type of things. He's controversial. That's what I'm trying to say.
Do you know? I think what people do not understand is he's like a glass. He is the way he is, and he doesn't hide it. Because a lot of people do know how to hide. Oh, in this environment, I'm going to be like this, and that environment. No, he's the same no matter where. He speaks out his mind. A lot of people like it. A lot of people don't like it.
Right.
But
here's the thing:
is.
when that happened in 2003, when he went to Abu Dhabi and called Hoyler, and then he came back, and I remember some of my Brazilian friends telling me this. You know, when I started talking about Eddie, they're like, "Man, he put on his business card, the first American to tap out of Gracie," which was true to my knowledge.
On the same weight class and division.
So I know that caused a lot of problems. Well, I'm not saying major problems, but I know it caused some strife with some of the family members. And you could have easily, Jean-Jacques, talked to Eddie and disciplined him, or you could have disavowed him, but you didn't. And now look at the contribution to me Eddie's made. I mean, Eddie, Joe Rogan, man, there's a few people in the world who have.
Everyone in their own way or environment made a huge contribution for Jiu-Jitsu, our community.
Yes.
Maybe on the beginning people see one way and now they realize like, man, if it wasn't for this guy putting all this time and doing this, we might not have what we have today.
Exactly.
And man, who am I to judge people or criticize people?
Right.
I think everyone has their own way to be. They speak things, and every time he says something, he backs what he's saying.
Right.
And man, he's being 100% honest with me.
Yes. But you made the example, Jean-Jacques. They say, hey man, just because somebody's causing a little bit of strife or whatever doesn't mean there's a contribution possibly this person's going to make. If you disavow, we're never going to see it. So you have to take it and kind of mold it in. You know what I mean? So
I support all my students for whatever they have in mind to do. And every day we have conversations and I present some scenarios, some of the things, and they like, oh yeah, I did not see this way, I better. But I'm not going to say, shut up, don't say, no. You got to, people, they have their own way to be and speak.
Yeah.
And I think today he's a little different than he was back then.
For sure.
He's more mature, but look at how much contribution he did for Jiu-Jitsu.
Of course.
Especially the no-gi.
Exactly, man.
Let me go back here and ask you something. Did you ever imagine you would have a Jiu-Jitsu school?
No, in fact, I never wanted one specifically. I knew I didn't want to have a school because I like to travel. I see, man.
Because when I met
he knows. He remembers. How does he do that, man?
When I met you, you used to be a freelance writer for a lot of martial arts magazines.
No, I was a potential writer. I wanted to start a martial arts magazine, and the reason why is because to me, Jiu-Jitsu was so beautiful. If I was at a school, I knew I was going to have to be married to school. I love to travel and I love to interact with all the different kind of people, and that was my wish was to do this and introduce all these people to because back then. We only had really Gracie Mag. Jay, do you remember this? We had Inside Kung Fu. John been on the cover of Black Belt magazine, but we had martial arts magazines, but not specifically Jiu-Jitsu.
No, it was martial arts in general.
Yes, and so we had Gracie Mag came out, but it was in Portuguese originally. Then they had a Portuguese English version. Then Grappling magazine came out, but I thought there was a place. I didn't. I had lots of magazines that I look up to, like Sports Illustrated and Rolling Stone and. Playboy, but that's because when you're a young man you can't. But this guy, this the photography.
I know you have those because the articles.
Yeah, the articles.
I got that.
Sorry, Mike. I bumped the mic, but for sure the artistic side of it. It's not just about the information; it's how you present the information. And so, but the thing is, I didn't know anything about a magazine or how to make one.
And going a little bit further on that. I don't recall exactly how many years you were trained with in our school.
Right.
Then you said, Jean-Jacques, I'm moving back to Oklahoma.
Right.
And I don't know if it was something that we're having that conversation, just say, hey, why don't you have a school?
Yeah.
And wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, now you continue that story, sir.
Well, it was funny because at the time I was a pro belt and of course training here, a purple belt, jiu-jitsu is such a superpower we'll talk about. But like even last night, we trained twice yesterday. And just when you leave here, you're so exhausted. You can't move. You got to wash your gi, you got to wash your stuff, you got to eat, you got to rest. And then you come back and it's like, and so I think back and it's like, because I remember when I left here, I tell people, like, and especially going to Oklahoma, there wasn't a lot of jiu-jitsu in Oklahoma at the time. So I was like, man, I felt like I could see the matrix when I left here. I was at purple belt, Like I felt I was pretty good. And, and now coming back here, it's like, this is why. It's like, now I remember, like, because you forget how hard it is, man. People ask me all the time, it's like, hey, man, why don't you compete more? And I'm old now. But it's like, you don't understand. Like, if you never tried something as hard as you could, like, this is difficult. It's hard.
It is very challenging, for sure.
Yeah.
And especially with the diversity of people we have in our school. And I remember a big difference from the early days and now is a blue belt is not that far away from a black belt.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I got some blue belts.
Some of the blue belts here, and it's like...
It took me longer to pass this guy guards. Like, whoa, what's happening here? Am I not learning or getting better? No, everybody's really learning in a very quick pace.
But Jean-Jacques, it's funny because as a pro player, even though I knew I was pretty good, on these mats, you're just a purple belt. In Oklahoma, you might as well be, Hickson or somebody. You know what I mean? But how it's like, man, I'm not qualified. You feel like I'm not qualified to do that. It was interesting to me to hear Eddie have similar feelings. It's called imposter syndrome, and I think a lot of people suffer from it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, man, even though you had these accomplishments and you put in the time, you don't feel like you could charge somebody for this. You know what I mean? You don't feel like you're in a position to until.
I understand you might feel like that, but us, as being around for a very long time, we know how challenging it is when we say open your school and be the main instructor.
Right.
And we feel insecure in a way, like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't have anybody kind of behind me. I'm the person here that... And I understand you were like purple belt.
Yeah.
But you go into an area that was no jiu-jitsu available.
Right. Very little.
And I remember you were, on the beginning, you opened your school in a very, humble place. And you kind of waited, no, I don't want to invite Jean-Jacques for a seminar and all of this because the place... I said, man, we started our school in our garage. You want more humble than that?
Yeah.
No, we park our car on the back and on the alley behind the house. That's when we open the garage door, and we have our school. And we never felt less or more. Just people want to come in, welcome. That's what we can offer. But look the steps today. Look where you are today, sir.
I mean, I love the meme you post. Sometimes you say, I think it's IBM, Disney. Everybody started they're also starting right. Then they said Machado, Jiu Jitsu. It's so perfect.
All starting in the garage.
But what's crazy, Jean-Jacques, is this. It's like nowadays with the internet, I don't even do magazines hardly exist because of the internet.
Yeah.
So thank God I wasn't able to do that. And now I had over my school. And Jean-Jacques, let me tell you about my school. Like I didn't know this before. But I can't even see myself not having a school now because the relationships you build and the growth you see your students. When I got my black belt, it was such an accomplishment for me, like a lifelong accomplishment. But now I've given people black belts, and to be on the other side, Jay. Yeah. You give somebody a black belt and spend so much time on the mat with these people and see the change in their life. And now these people are monsters. Like man, this person came to me and didn't know their sock from their elbow. And now,
You see people happier. You see people with more desire to achieve a dream. And more important, having a dream.
Yes.
A lot of people that come to my school, they never had a dream.
Yes.
And now they feel like, man, I feel so much empowered that I have a dream that I can achieve now.
Yeah.
You understand? A lot of people came in, they don't know what they want to do in life 5 years from now. And they start training jiu-jitsu 1 year, 2 years. Suddenly, I want to open a school. I want to open a business. I want to...
Yeah, this is what I want to talk about with JeanJacquesMachado.
Well, that's what I was going to just share with you because it's so funny that I'm sure you heard the story about Armstrong, like Mark Armstrong, one of our instructors here, when Jean-Jacques asked him one night, he said, "You're going to teach a class." Mark turned around, got in his car, and drove home. He didn't want to teach. He was very, very vocal about that. I don't want to teach. I just want to be a student. I don't want to lead. I don't want to be. I was the same way.
It's a lot of pressure.
I didn't want to teach. I just wanted to kind of be in the corner.
Yeah.
you didn't want to open a school.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And now you can't really see it. But John, let me tell you what's so funny, man. Like,
Now you don't see yourself without a school.
Exactly. But and it's like there's things that the school gives.
But
that
I saw that on you before.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. But it's JeanJacques. Let me tell you, like 4th of July, we're closed. We're closed for holidays. Okay. But my school's open. You understand? My students will not let. My school is open. It's not officially open, but somebody's trained there every day of the year. You know what I mean? It's like I have probably. I would say probably 15 of my students have keys.
It's like not that people don't have their own life.
Yeah.
But for a lot of them, that is the best part of their day.
Yeah, no.
When they go to the school and train and have like talking to some other people and have the whole conversation outside their work environment.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, let's talk about this, JeanJacques, because I think this is very important. And I remember when I opened my school and I was struggling, you know, we would have conversations about this, and the way you put it out, it's always so eloquent and great. But like, guys, for some of you guys that are listening, you may not know, but JeanJacquesMachado, he only has one hand. Okay.
One and a half.
One and a half.
Okay, give me some credit here, man.
Yeah. and to look at what he's accomplished on the mats with one hand, I always tell people, it's like, have you ever heard the sayings like, I can beat you with one hand tied behind my back? I was like, my instructor can actually do that, you know. And I remember, JeanJacques, when I first came here, I was a little bit nervous about talking to you about your hand and stuff like that. And then finally, I got the courage enough to ask you. And then you know, and it's so funny because I was always so worried about your hand, and now I'll bite that hand like anything I can do because he uses it. And JeanJacques, this is the thing too. Like the book, one of the books is like says, each adversity comes with the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Because that hand, it's smaller, and so sometimes you tuck your chin, his hand is smaller, and so he's able to get that hand in there.
That's why I love
and
Jiu
he uses it. And he uses it.
You can adapt a lot of things, to yourself.
Exactly. But Jiu Jitsu gives you a very real, very practical, and very immediate example of adversity that benefit. How you can use an adversity to overcome. You know what I mean? Like these tools and techniques that we use in Jiu Jitsu.
When people come to the school and train, they reveal themselves. You can't lie in Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
That's why everyone that comes into the school, they show their character. And right away you can see that they cannot be somebody else on the mat different than who they actually is. And that's one of the great things I never realized. When people talk about hands, like, man, I can use my hand pretty well. On my mind is, you saying that is like, okay, but I never realized that today become such an impact on a lot of people because, I have my hands and he doesn't have a hand, which you should have an advantage. And I say my mind is I have the advantage because he cannot break my fingers. I don't have fingers for him to break.
That's right.
That's my advantage. Maybe it's my smaller hand can get into places that your hand can't.
Yeah.
But I think it's never, and I think I would say Jiu-Jitsu and everything in my family, they never make me think for a second that this will stop me to do what I want to do or to be who I want to be. Never in my mind.
Yeah.
I never had any issues. People sometimes, new guys, I can see in their face, I play around my hand and people see some guys laughing that know me, some guys very serious, like, oh, he's making fun of him, and what is this?
No, but one of my favorite pictures of all time, of course, is when Carlos Gracie has JeanJacques as a baby. I mean, that is, to me, is like, it just encapsulates so many things. But JeanJacques, like, that's an adversity whether you choose to acknowledge it or not. But let me tell you what affected me greatly was it's your approach, your attitude. Okay, so Jiu-Jitsu to me gives you a lot of Jiu-Jitsu. A fight to me is physical, obviously, but it's also mental and it's also emotional. And those three things, when you have physical, mental, and emotional, when you exhaust all of those, then you can have the spiritual. And Hickson talks about this a lot. But to me, the way you approach it, I mean, that's what, Jay, do you remember, I don't know if you remember the fighter Pedro Hizzo? Do you remember this guy?
Yeah, I remember him.
I remember seeing him one time before I trained. I don't know if he won the title in UFC but he won this fight, and they're interviewing him afterwards. And I think I don't know. I think it was maybe Marco. Who else was his instructor? I can't remember his instructor.
Yeah,
Who else?
I think it was in his corner.
But they started interviewing him. He's in the ring. And he just starts crying. He starts crying, talking about his instructor. And at the time, this is before I trained. I'm like, look, what in the world is this guy doing? Like, this guy just murdered somebody in the ring, and he's crying. He's to tears. But when people ask me about Jean-Jacques, or it's hard for me to talk about him without becoming emotional. And now I see what Pedro Rizzo was feeling, because now, like I love it. Jean-Jacques, you remember when the young man from was it Denmark or Sweden? The guy got the lightning strike.
Anosh.
Yeah, Anosh.
Yeah, Anosh. Yeah. I can't watch that video. Like, sometimes I want to show that video to my students, but I have to just send it to them, because if I watch it with them, I'll get overcome, because like that's who Jean-Jacques was to me too. Like, this guy, if you guys don't know, maybe you can put the link or something in the podcast. It's such a great story. The young man he was playing on a train yard in whatever country it was, somewhere in Europe, and his friend died. Sweden. And then his arm got burned pretty much away. He doesn't have an arm. And it was he didn't even train at the time, but he found out about you, and he learned Portuguese.
One of the guys that I know as a teenager, he became a Jiu Jitsu instructor for Gracie Barra, and he was living there. Yeah. And I think he gave him a DVD. Yeah. I made one of those DVDs.
Yeah.
And if I understood right, that what made him have desire to live, not to die.
Yeah. I mean, think about that.
He studied Portuguese. He tried to learn Portuguese for 2 years before when he wants to meet me. And I have no idea.
Right.
I think Jay was at the academy when the TV from Sweden, they came in.
Yeah. I'm so glad you guys
As soon as I saw him and he started crying, I was like...
He couldn't even speak. You remember?
He didn't want to get out of the car. He was in the car. He was so emotional before even coming in.
And I have no idea. We have a guy coming. I have no idea about the whole story.
Yeah. It was incredible. And I love that story. If you guys definitely check that story out. But that's how I feel like what you taught me the most, what I'm most thankful for, and I tell you this all the time, man, but you taught me how to, not just to overcome adversity. That would be enough, Jay, right?
Yeah.
But to overcome it or to face it with joy in your heart, with joy. You're like, no. A friend of mine he just told me his prayer. It's like, here's the prayer. It's like, dear God, thank you for the adversity I'm about to experience. You know what I mean? And you kind of, to me, encapsulate that. You personify that joy. And you ask me all the time, like, I love to laugh with you and all my brothers, but there's it's very strange for normal people or people that don't train. Somebody gets your back and is choking you, and you're laughing about it. You know what I mean? You're laughing about it. Like, that's weird. You know what I mean? That's very strange, but it's, that's what I'm saying. It's like, sometimes we have a problem. Like my girl, you should say, well, she's having a tough day. Jean-Jacques like, man, let's just run away. And I say, no, let's stay and fight. You know what I mean?
You can't postpone things like that, and imagine some of the books and some of the stories my uncle Carlos used to say is, let's see, your whole life is the size of this table. And I want to grow in life. And on the edge of the table, I have to face some challenge in my life. But I keep saying no. And then I go back to inside the table. The day that I face and solve this, my life now is bigger than the table.
It grows, yeah.
And you keep growing as a human being.
Right.
With those challenges. We all wish life was just paradise every day. We have no stress, none of this. It's how we deal with.
Yeah.
And it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people make choices to face it. Some people make choices not to. But somehow down the line, you're going to have to face it.
That's right. But it's funny because when you have an example of somebody like you, I just remember, man, Jay, I don't know, I'm sure you had this experience, Mike, you too, but like, there's times when I left here, I've been in the locker room just holding back tears, and I didn't want to cry, but I'd be so frustrated or angry because I didn't do so well on the mat, and then he'd come in and just say something to make you laugh.
No, not even to lift you up.
Yeah. It's just so amazing. And so, of course, I try to mimic that, and I try to steal everything I can from Jean-Jacques. But I learned so much through not just jiu-jitsu, but leadership, man. It's like leadership, you know.
Man, we all still learning for sure, and I learned so much from you guys, and that's why one of the greatest moments is to be able to go and teach seminars and go to your environment.
Yeah, I love that part.
See how you do with your student all of this, and
except when the tornado.
Right.
Gotta wait for that.
Oh man, this guy. I was like, man, California's got earthquakes and fires. I was like, what's a tornado, man? Come on.
Let me ask you this: once you open your school, and you start the school, what was like for you the biggest challenge you have from the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you exactly what the biggest challenge was. It's getting students, because because you love jiu-jitsu so much, and you're into that. We're into that. We're always watching jiu-jitsu, and we're so interested in it. We kind of assume a lot of people are. Everybody is, and so you think you're going to open the doors, and as soon as some people find out you train jiu-jitsu, that they're just going to come in and you're going to be a rich man.
We wish, right?
Right? Yeah. And so, but let me tell you, Jean-Jacques, we talked about. I'm working on this project called BJJ.
Yeah,
Business
that's
School.
why I want to get to that point.
Yeah, and I have several students now who have their own schools, and some of them are doing great, and some of them are doing okay, and some of them are not doing well. And so. For me, it was always a struggle because, even though I was pretty good at jiu-jitsu, I'd never opened a business before. I had no idea.
You and 99% of us.
That's correct. That's correct.
We all learn by making all those mistakes.
Right.
We close the school. Okay, I'm going to have to open again, then close and open again. It's like, what I'm not doing right to keep my school open.
Let me tell these guys what they're not doing right, Jean-Jacques. So because, I read so many books. But here's the thing, it's like reading a book about business, it's good information, but it's like reading a book about jiu-jitsu. I mean, you read a book about jiu-jitsu, is that you still got to, until you get on that mat and go through what you have to go through, you're not going to learn a lot, right? And so, man, I hired consultants. I remember one time I hired a consultant, and it's like I didn't have any money to hire a consultant. It's like any money I made, I try to learn, what do I need to do? And this is what the consultant, this was so funny. This guy actually became a friend of mine, and it's like, but this is what he said, okay? He says, we have our first meeting. He says, man, the people I talk to say you're really good teaching kids. And I said, I am. I'm bad at teaching kids. And he says, well, man, who make a lot of money teaching kids is the Taekwondo schools. You should teach Taekwondo. And, but it's funny because again, Jean-Jacques, like these people are good business people, but they don't know jiu-jitsu. They haven't, they don't know. And the same thing, we talked earlier a little bit, but you go to some of these conferences, there's some things we can't do as jiu-jitsu guys. You just won't. Like I remember one guy said, so what you do is. When they come in, they have to buy your, it's like, there's different ideas about this, but this guy says, make sure they have to buy your equipment, if it's gis, if it's mitts, or whatever it is. And somebody asked the question, say, well, what if they already have a gi, or what if they already have this? And say, you just tell them that your insurance only covers the equipment that it's just, and it's like, Jay, it's like I'm not going to do that. It's just like it's silly, So, Jean-Jacques, so what happened was what really turned the corner for me was when I started approaching my business like I approached jiu-jitsu. I was telling Jay earlier, it's like, man, in jiu-jitsu, if you have a problem, say you have a problem escaping the mount. Okay, man, we have a problem escaping the mount. We're going to find out who's the best at escaping the mount. I'm going to ask my instructor. I'm going to ask the guys I know are good at escaping the mount. I'm going to watch what they do. And then I'm going to start in the mount every chance I get how long am I going to do that? Until I know I can get out of the mount. And so the problem of that in business, though, is it's hard to articulate the problems that you're having. You understand? As a jiu-jitsu school owner, it's just not out in the open. Like, man, if you go on Instagram right now, I have hundreds of techniques, videos, YouTube, anything. But if you go and say, man, how do I open a jiu-jitsu school? Okay, man, there's not that many. But what has to happen is you have to start approaching your business like you do jiu-jitsu. So you have to have, so I tell my guys, look, man, you have to spend equal time on business like you do jiu-jitsu until you start making some money. So you start to where you need to be. If you spend, say, 3 hours listening to Joe Rogan, that means you have to spend 3 hours listening to a business guy, a marketing guy. But even then it's hard because this is just, there's hardly any. There's a couple. Fabio Gugel, we talked about, has something. It's in Portuguese, but it's good information. There's another guy, I forget what it's called, but it's good information. But look, man, if you know jiu-jitsu, you can be a great business person because it's the same. It's a process. Jay, what's the process? If you get into a fight and you know jiu-jitsu, what's the process that's going to take place for you to win that fight? Let's talk about that. as a jiu-jitsu person, we're going to, what's step number one? Step number one, I'm going to make sure I control the distance. I'm going to make sure I'm either too far away for this guy or too close for him. Step two is, at the appropriate time, I'm going to close the distance. Clinch. That's correct. And I'm going to take the fight to the ground. Once I take the fight to the ground, I'm going to get a dominant position. I'm going to let him exhaust himself. And then finally, I'm going to submit him. That's the process of jiu-jitsu, okay? The biggest problems that jiu-jitsu people have, jiu-jitsu school owners have, is how to get new students, okay? And so this is what changed for me when I realized this. Getting a new student, there's a process of how someone becomes your student. What is that process? Okay, here's the process. Number one is they learn you exist. However they learn it. Maybe they drive by your school. Maybe they saw a video on YouTube. Maybe they Googled, whatever. Okay, so step one is they learn you exist. Step two is they Google you. Step three is they go to your website. Step four, they contact you. Step five, they come in for an introductory lesson. Step six is they sign up for a trial. Maybe it's a 2-week trial, maybe it's a 30-day trial, maybe it's a 3-lesson trial, maybe we don't have a trial, but they come in for the introduction, they tried it out. And finally, step 7 is they sign up long-term, okay? So just like jiu-jitsu, if you know the process of jiu-jitsu, if you suck at one of those steps, it's no problem. I'll study that step.
Do you know one philosophy that I use since the early days? To me is the best. Is no better advertised for your school than your own students.
That's correct.
Bringing in their friends or recommend your school to somebody else.
That's correct.
Because I know we can spend lots of money, go social marketing, all of this, but it's very different when your own student.
Right.
Like, man, I've been training for 10 years. You should go there.
For sure. Yeah.
And I would say, to me personally, this has been working since day one.
Of course.
We have a great environment, and you are one of the students that came through this. Jay was in a tournament, saw jiu-jitsu, and one of the fights, like, man, I want to go to this place. And Jay also has a background in, is that Kempo, Jay?
Yeah. Chinese Kenpo, Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the things that, and evidently, man, we got to get information to how to run the school. Open, right. It's easy.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Open is easy. That's, we get a loan, buy the mats, front, put a signage. Okay, have a school. Now what?
Yeah.
You know?
But Jean-Jacques, so the problem is, though, when you first open, if you have 2 students, they better do a lot of talking before you get more students. So this process, you can take charge of this process. I didn't know this at first. So how do people learn that you exist? Jean-Jacques, we're lucky to have you because you're on Instagram every day. Plenty of YouTube, you know what I mean?
But I'll tell you this, though.
Yeah.
The early days,
oh, for sure,
I put a lot of flyers in a lot of cars.
Yes.
And they get some security guys running us out. Hey, you can't do that. It's illegal. Yeah. And we're putting just flyers in every car.
Yeah.
We used to go to every high school around our area and just pass flyers to the students when they leave in the school. It was very different.
Of course.
There's no social media back then.
But now it's social media. That's the leverage. Social media, like, guys, listen, I hate social media as much as you guys do. I hate it so much. I'm only on it 3 or 4 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like you know, if you look at your screen time on your phone, it's amazing.
3 hours a day?
Yeah. Well, I'm exaggerating, Jean-Jacques.
I'm 30 minutes a week. Just to let you know, I have to be on the mat.
He knows the secret. But Jean-Jacques, that's the easiest way with social media. There's ways you can use social media to where you can just target the people.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? So that's how people. And you have to. If you're not on social media, to me as a school owner, then your school doesn't even exist.
And another thing too, evidently, is if we say that the product that you provide, you sell in your school, which is very important. The behavior of the instructor, like we mentioned, some schools, the environment is not very attractive to, we can say, normal people. It's more on the fighting world. And if you don't have the messed up here, you're not going to be welcome here.
Right.
Which is the good thing today. You have a lot of choices.
Yeah.
You can go to schools that are more in the fighting world. You can go to schools that are less.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're not going to learn how to fight. It's just the focus is not mainly tournaments.
Yeah, people get in where they fit in, for sure, Jean-Jacques. And culture is so important. That's one of the things in the project I'm working on in BJJ Business School. It's like, you know, culture is so important. And it doesn't really matter. Like your culture is going to be who you are. You know what I mean? It starts from the top. That's why Jay is a boss just the way he is. Every instructor that comes in here, it's a similar experience. When you come in here, nobody's going to treat you terribly. Nobody's going to be rude to you. Nobody's going to hurt you on the mat. They're going to make sure they take care of you. If you weren't here last night when that white belt was here, whoever was teaching
I have
would have
no
made
doubt.
sure.
I mean, Jay and Mark, they do an incredible
because
job.
that's the culture. You know
They
what I
do
mean?
Incredible job.
But there's other schools. It's a different culture, and it's fine. What you know, the culture is what you make it. But to understand, you're making it.
And,
you know what I mean?
and in this whole process, which is the most common mistake you've been able to see in a lot of the jiu-jitsu schools?
Yeah. Well, the biggest mistakes are, number one, we don't begin like Stephen Covey. Jean-Jacques, I know you read The 7 Habits.
Yes.
You know, it's begin with the end in mind. So what am I trying to do? So we have to, the initial thing is you have to separate the business side from the jiu-jitsu side. And we've had conversations about this. I remember one of my favorite conversations is, I said, Jean-Jacques, like, I have a lot of people in my school that, you know, they're my friends. So if they can't afford to pay, then I don't, you know, then I still want them to come, but they don't pay. And you told me, can I tell the story?
Yeah,
It's about when your wife was, you know, you were just bringing her home because you were in charge of the money. And she came on and she was reviewing everything. She said, "Say, Jean-Jacques," she's like, "Jean-Jacques, these I forgot how many people was. Several of these students are not paying." And Jean-Jacques says, these are my friends." And she said, "Oh, these are your friends, huh?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, let's see how much they like you." I never forget that. I never forget that. But it's true. But the thing is, it's like you have to. This is
I find out that they really like me.
But it's true, Jean-Jacques. So that's the first opposite problem. So I said, look, this is a business. Number one, everybody has to pay. I'm sorry if you're training for a little while and you can't pay, it's look, man, we're going to give you a 60-day reprieve. We're going to give you a scholarship for 60 days. Now, after 60 days, that's it.
Yeah, and I would say one thing, and in my own experience in my school, a lot of the friends that I let them train, because they have some financial issues.
Of course.
They end up not showing up because I don't pay, I don't have to go. No, I go when I want. And two, I end up not helping this person.
That's right. You think you're doing them a favor.
I will give an example. I have guys that I know for 15 years.
Yeah.
He still have the same financial issue problem.
Yeah.
I said, man, you've been training for 15 years. You're a black belt, and you still have financial problem.
Yeah.
I mean, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know? And what happened is I said, okay, now I only have to stop paying. Oh, I don't know, you're not my friend. I said, no, I'm not helping you.
We're enabling them.
That makes sure don't train until you no longer have financial problem.
Right.
Let's see how much you actually like jiu-jitsu.
That's right.
Most of them resolve their issues back to the mat and train. Some of them, 20 years later, they still have the same problem.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the I think for all the school owners I met who struggled, myself included, was there's the business side and the jiu-jitsu side. As most people that open a jiu-jitsu school, Jean-Jacques, are not business people who are jiu-jitsu people.
No, I don't think we ever went to school.
Correct. And so because of that, when you go home at night, you teach jiu-jitsu. When you go home at night, you watch jiu-jitsu videos. You know, you do these things, but you don't ever crack a business book. You know what I mean? You just assume it's going to work out. That's incorrect. You have to learn about marketing. That's the second biggest problem is I didn't market my school. That's a problem. And Jean-Jacques, you're on me all the time about Instagram. Remember, you should take it on Instagram. And I'm like, man, who am I to be on Instagram? Like, nobody's going to listen to me like this and anything. But the thing is, again, I learned this the hard way. If you're not on social media, then you don't exist as far as the school is concerned. And Jean-Jacques, you do it smart. I know it seems like you're always on there, but I know you approach it the jiu-jitsu way. You do it efficiently. It doesn't control you. You control it.
We are still learning so many things. The younger generation knows so much more than we do, and especially social media and all of these. And I'm trying to use the younger generation to, hey, how do you do that? Right. How that works. And evidently, I'm also talking to people that are doing this for a long time. And because today you have companies that you can hire.
Right.
And do those things for you.
But Jean-Jacques, like, it's funny because, like, man, there's 10-year-olds in the school that use social media better than we use social media. I mean, it's just a new generation. Sure. But we'll pay. But here's the thing. Like, I've paid lots of people. But the thing is, I need to do basically 3 things, and they'll charge me for 30 things. So it's like, man, it's just really 3 things you need to do. It's not that difficult. So you have to advertise your school. That's the second biggest problem. Third problem is, you have to have infrastructure. What I mean by infrastructure is, you have to have systems in place to keep track of attendance, keep track of tuition payments, keep track of just a handful of things. It's not a bunch of things, but you can't do this. If you have 10 students, it's easy to know when somebody's ready for a promotion. But we have hundreds of students here. You know what I mean? It's like they have to sign in every night. That's how we keep track of it. You know what I mean? So that helps us judge when this person is ready. Another thing is we try to do everything by ourselves. You know what I mean? You have to have help. Jean-Jacques, look at the.
You can. You can, but then you're not going to be able to grow.
Yeah. So there's a great book, this BJJ Business School is based on several books and courses I've taken and adapted them to Jiu-Jitsu. One of them is the E-Myth. Jean-Jacques, you may or may not have read this one, I think, but this guy's name's Michael Gerber. He has a great saying. He says, listen, if you have a business and you have to be there in order to get paid, then you don't have a business. You have a job. Now, maybe a great job. Jiu-Jitsu is a great job, but there's going to come a time when you get sick, you have a family emergency, or you might want to just go on vacation. Now, if that happens and you're the only one that can do your job, what happens to the business? And Jean-Jacques, this is another thing that I learned from you. Like when I come here, even though sometimes you're here, you might make Jay teach, you might make Mark teach, you might make me teach to share because you're constantly developing, your help.
I learned also to decentralize the school.
Yes.
The school does not depend on me anymore. You know, people see all my instructors as Jay. It's because he wants to. He's a champion in many tournaments.
Yeah.
And the students look at him like, wow, oh my God. And have students come here, take pictures with him and request classes with him. That's what I want in the school. It's not just me.
Yeah.
I was me in the beginning. Now I have Jay, then I have Mark, then I have other students that are part of the whole leading process.
Yes.
And intentionally, a lot of times I'm here in the class, but ask Jay, can you teach? And I want the students to see that I'm here, but he's the one teaching, not me.
Right.
You understand? And I do the drills with the class, and I'm there, but he's the instructor.
Right.
This is the process that the students see like, whoa, he's so good that he can teach even though the master is here. Oh, yeah. He's good, and a lot of techniques he teaches better than me. I have no doubt.
The best part of this experience, going back to the white belt story, is usually whenever we have a night like that where one of us is teaching and Jean-Jacques on the floor, he always goes and sits with the newer students.
Yeah,
and you can just see them. They're like, what's he doing here? Is he going to ask me a question? And it's just
Yeah, Jay, think about that. I mean, on a level of a customer service level. Jean-Jacques, the 4 modules I have in this project I'm working on, number 1 is your infrastructure and your mindset. Number 2 is market your school like your life depends on it, because it does. Number 3, this is what I want to talk to you about, is creating a great customer experience. Number 4 is build systems so you can delegate. Those are the 4 things. That's white belt, blue belt, brown, purple belt, and brown belt, black belt.
Hey, you forgot the coral belt. What is that?
Hey, man,
should
I'm
be
still
the
working.
5 or red belt,
still working.
6.
That's why I'm here
Should be the 6,
to find out. To find out. But Jean-Jacques, here's an example. In LA, we have In-N-Out Burger. We don't have In-N-Out in Oklahoma, but we have Chick-fil-A. Okay. In my town, Owasso, there's probably maybe 45,000 people. There's probably 5-6 chicken restaurants, okay? If you go to Chick-fil-A, it's like In-N-Out. The line is around the corner. It's almost a traffic hazard. Okay?
It's a good place, man.
John, but listen, let's talk about Jay. Have you ever had Chick-fil-A?
Honest to God, never.
Okay, well, listen.
I have one in my town, too.
The chicken is not bad, but it's just a chicken sandwich. But if you go next door, they might have 3 cars. This one has 50 cars. What's the difference, okay? The difference is when you go to Chick-fil-A, just like when you go to In-N-Out, the people they got working there act like they give a damn. You know what I mean? That's it. That's the only thing. Now, I don't know if they do give a damn or not, but they act like they do. And the experience is different. Even though the chicken's probably, it's 6 on one hand. If you go to KFC or you go to Church's or Popeyes, whatever, it's similar experience. Mm-hmm. But the way they treat you. Now, Jean-Jacques, these restaurants are in the same town. That means they have the same pool of employees to pull from, okay? So it's the same, basically the same people.
Their experience going to their places, they make them want to come back. It's like, wow,
That's
so
right.
well
That's
served,
right.
so welcome.
Yes.
Wow.
That's it.
On the other one, the guy said, no, I don't have it. Buy this one. Like, no, well, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And
Yes. And so imagine you go to a jiu-jitsu school, and Jay, Jean-Jacques, it's funny to me because Jean-Jacques probably never had this experience of going to a jiu-jitsu school and being like intimidated. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you're going to walk
absolutely.
in. Like, I wonder if he's ever had that.
I don't think so.
Maybe when Hickson came and got him and said, come to the school, like maybe I wonder what that was like as a kid.
you know, we grew up like people see that we grew up with that.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a different
yeah.
thing, and you kind of experience that, but not realize you are experiencing that.
Yeah.
You're part of the whole
Yeah.
process.
Right.
But I mean, I'm no better than anybody that walks into my school.
Right.
You know,
That's how you treat people.
and I believe every human being has something with them
Right.
that they do better than anybody.
Yeah.
I might be good in jiu-jitsu, but I have somebody who is amazing with computer.
Yeah.
And then if you bring him to my world, okay. But if I go to his world, I'm the white belt.
Exactly.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
And many other areas in life that I'm just a student like everybody else.
Exactly. But creating a great customer experience is so important because, like, it's very intimidating just to enter a jiu-jitsu school as a young man. And so when you come in, imagine you come in, it's your first day of jiu-jitsu, and they just let you roll with everybody, and the guy gets injured. He's never going to come back ever. It's like, man, jiu-jitsu now here to him is injury. It still blows my mind. There's schools that I know, that women, if you come to my school and it's a girl, you're only going to roll with people. I'm going to put you with your partner. You know what I mean? Jean-Jacques, I think we're a little spoiled here because we have like the whole mat is like so much experience on the mat. I feel like most of these people here, like it'd be so hard for a white belt to get injured here because we have such experience on the mat.
Yeah, we have like, I don't know, 10 plus black belts almost every class.
Yeah, some schools don't have that, and so but they come in and they think they have to roll, and the Gracie Academy kind of gets into trouble with this because like some of the people don't like the Gracie Academy because like if you go to a Gracie Academy school, they won't let you roll for like the first year. Like in the Gracie Academy in my town, you can't roll.
But you know what? It's the process of each school use. A lot of people like it.
Yeah.
Some people don't like it.
Yeah. I don't really agree necessarily with that. I respect it. It's whatever. It's their process. It's fine. But I definitely understand. It's like, look, man, if you let these people roll, don't know jiu-jitsu, they're going to hurt themselves.
Yeah.
It's not even about their partner going to hurt them. They might hurt themselves.
Because in jiu-jitsu, learn first what not to do.
Yes.
Then you will be able to learn, what to do now.
Exactly. But that, the way you treat people is key. But the way you treat people is on the mat. Like Jean-Jacques, last night, the white belt was here. You made sure everybody knew, hey, man, if you're going to go with this guy, you're not rolling with him. You're going to show him a technique. Maybe it's escape from the mount. Probably something.
Yeah, it was all basic. All the students already know that.
Yeah, and so exactly, because you built that culture. They know
all
that.
The students know that.
But a lot of my friends that have schools, they never even thought about that. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, man, you're here to jiu-jitsu class. I mean, we're rolling now, so I guess you're rolling. You know?
No, that's why a lot of schools are very limited with smaller group of competitors.
Yeah.
But it's no chance because the way I see is if you go to a school and you don't have white belts, something is not right.
Exactly, yeah.
If you go to a school, you have only white belts, something's not right.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you go to the school and you diversify. You have all belts, all colors, all sizes. Everybody's like, wow, that means somebody start here as a white belt and he move up all the way and he's still here.
Yeah.
Then you see the balance.
Yeah.
Okay, I can only teach white belts. No high belt stays here.
Yeah.
Or I can only teach higher belts. No white belts get the experience to move up.
Let me give you an example, Jean-Jacques. This is funny to me because like when I was struggling at the time, this was several years ago, and CrossFit was just kind of coming up, really getting really popular. They get ESPN, CrossFit,
Yeah.
And so it's like, because you're struggling, you're like, man, maybe I should start teaching CrossFit. Like, I mean, I even got CrossFit certified, right? And so it's so funny now to me now. But here's the thing. So the idea, Jay, is the number of people that want to train jiu-jitsu in my mind it's like if it was this table, it'd be the number of people would be the size of this Jean-Jacques phone here. But the number of people that want to lose 10 pounds is the size of the table. Like everybody needs to lose 10 pounds, you know? And so I was like, man, maybe fitness is the, you know what I mean? But here's the thing, like now that I'm on the other side of it, I can see so much clearly. So it's like, look, here's the thing, man, about jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is endless. Jean-Jacques, like, I've known you for so long. I'm be training with you until I die, probably. You know, until you know, I don't know which one of us is going first, John. But I mean, you know,
yeah, knock on the wood, man. Okay.
But I mean, because you know, and I have students that started me my first day at my first 5 students. They still train with me. They still pay me. You understand? So over the course of 10 years, you know, because they're still getting value out of it. You understand?
That means you must have a good school.
Thank you, sir. I believe so too.
Yeah, for sure.
But imagine, Jay, it's like, and there is. I like CrossFit. You know, I don't not to deride CrossFit or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, Jiu-Jitsu is a community. Jean-Jacques, before we roll, and we want to talk about this too, because I want to ask you about this. Before we fist bump and go, we slap hands. The slap hands is, hey, we're a brotherhood here. We're friends first, and now we're going to test each other. And a lot of places don't have that, you know? And so it's funny because now it's like, man, I don't need to teach fitness because, so once you lose, say if you want to lose 20 pounds, well, once you lose the 20 pounds, what more use am I to you? Because it's, you know, it's hard. What we do is hard. If you're going to lose 20 pounds, that's hard. If you're going to do jiu-jitsu, that's hard. But the thing is, after you know, in jiu-jitsu, there's always a fun next level to get to, you know?
And also the environment of your school. We have a lot of guys that come here, they maybe do 1 or 2 rows and they sit around and talking to the guys friends, and maybe they ask a question about a technique.
Right.
But man, you create such a nice environment. That's your school. When I go, every time I go there, it's like, I don't know, hundreds of people there on the mats and everybody's smiling.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of the same spirit as Christian. If you guys heard him laughing so many times, that's who he is the day one I met this guy.
No, man.
One of the hardest trainers in the school. But it's fun, and I think jiu-jitsu is like life. It's a continual learning process. We never stop learning how to treat people better, how to improve our jiu-jitsu, learn the techniques. Man, I learn techniques from white belts.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do something that their reaction is not what I was expecting.
Right.
And I realize, like, man, if I react like this with somebody, a high belt, I might surprise him.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. But I think it's that connection that we made as a healthy, positive environment.
Yeah, for the rest of their life, Jean-Jacques, for the rest of their life, jiu-jitsu is a perishable skill, but it's like riding a bike. You're not going to lose all of it. You know what I mean? If you train for 2 or 3 years and you don't train for 5 years, you're still going to be one of the baddest people if you walk into a bar or something like that. I mean, you're still going to be able to handle yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wanted to tell you a story here that just happened to me. It reminded me of your story. You remember when you had the problem at the drugstore? Oh yeah, the guy was giving you a problem.
Guy bumped into me. Yeah.
So
happened to you too.
So listen, we were just in Venice. The guys wanted to go to Venice. So we go to Venice. We're eating a lunch on the beach right there in Venice. And
man, Venice these
crazy,
days
right?
are not good, man.
Let me tell you what happened.
Let
me tell you what happened. And so, man, the guy's homeless guy. He comes in, and we're just sat down and we got our drinks, and all of a sudden there's a ruckus. The guy's yelling, cussing. I'm gonna come back and kill all of you guys. And so we look up, and I was like, "Oh man, what's going on here?" You know, I said, and they're escorting the guy out, but it's on the beach, Jean-Jacques. It's all open. So the guy he goes out to the sidewalk, and he stands there just looking at he's standing like, Jay, from me to you, just standing looking at, and then he'll walk down. And so I asked the waiter, I said, "Hey man, what's going on with this guy?" He said, "Man, this guy, he comes in here and he just harasses the customers." And he said he's done it a few times. And so when he comes in, I say, "Okay, man." And so I'm looking at the guy. I keep my eye on the guy because he's not leaving. And I'm like, man, is this guy going to do something? And, there's families and kids, and he's standing right in front of a family. And I'm with my guys. And this is another thing, Jean-Jacques, that I feel like that you taught me too. It's like when you have the kind of the superpower, it's not a superpower, maybe it's too strong, but I feel like it is, you know. But when you have that power, you got to be one of the good guys. So if a problem happens, you got to understand. So the guy's like, he's standing here, he's standing there, but finally I was like, man, I get up on my chair and I go over to him and I say, "Hey man, can I help you? And the guy comes over to me, and I said, listen, man, what's going on? It's like, so they said, but Jean-Jacques, the guy's a homeless guy. He has mental health issues, And what happened was he came in and asked for a glass of water. Because the guy had problems before, they kicked him out. And he said, man, all I wanted was a glass of water. And I said, listen, man, let me buy you lunch, He's, he started shaking my hand. He's like, he's asking me about it. I asked him about himself. And man, like, I said, hey, listen, man, I know, I talked to him a little bit, but nobody, just like you always say, man, nobody's talked to this guy like he's a human being.
Yeah.
Because he's in the situation that he's in, and it's not like he doesn't seem like a bad person, but he's just so frustrated with life and everything. Like he doesn't know he hasn't learned how to interact. So anyway, I talked to the guy, and thankfully I didn't have to fight the guy. I mean, I didn't want to fight the guy, but it's like, look, man, you can't stand here in front of these, there's a kid here, there's ladies here. It's like, look, man, if we got to do it, we got to do it. But man, the guy, I got him a glass of water and a bottle of water and stuff like that. Jean-Jacques, the guy goes over and he comes back and he gives me this thing, man, Jay. Like, it's just it's one of the things that one of the artists.
Speech, okay.
And it's like now the cops showed up. You know what I mean? And they're ready to take him to jail. And they're like, man, hey, man, is this guy bothering you? And it's like, no, man, this guy's not bothering me. We're just talking, you know what I mean? It's like, but he was just so, nobody had ever had
Spoke to him.
Exactly, man. And it's like, I wanted to tell, I have young guys, when my guys was kind of young, and I wanted to tell them, like, hey, look, man, you got the power.
Maybe a month ago, one of our students were there on the beach, and the guy sucker punched him.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
He just hold the guy down and hey, calm down, and he could hurt the guy.
Could have hurt the guy.
He just hold him down, and police came to arrest. He did not press charge or anything, and just the guy's in trouble.
Yeah, it's a bigger problem. The homeless problem out here, everybody's talk about it, but man,
But I think the fact of how secure you feel with yourself
exactly
allows you to go there and talk to somebody like that. And he feels your energy.
Yeah.
You're not there to hurt him, but at the same time, he feels that you're not afraid of him.
That's right. But Jean-Jacques, like when it first happened, though, it's like, oh man, this is about what's going to happen, Jay? Like you had a feeling like, I don't, man, should we leave or what should happen or But then you're like, oh wait a minute, I know Jiu Jitsu. Somebody's got to handle this. It's like, oh, no, yeah, it's you. You got to handle it. So it was just kind of funny because then after the guy, we had our interaction, then the guy just goes about his business. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, look, man, he just needed somebody.
All he needs is somebody who say hi to him or speak to him for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, I try to tell the guy.
That's what I'm saying. We're not better than anybody. We're not living anybody's everyday struggle. We don't know their everyday struggle. That's why you got to treat everybody nice,
Yeah, but before Jiu-Jitsu, Jean-Jacques, I was like, man, I hope somebody handles this. And it's funny. So thank you, Jean-Jacques.
Yeah.
Man, how much time do we have? I don't want to take all your time, man. But there's some things I wanted to ask you. Hey, Jean-Jacques, did we always slap hands and fist bump? Do you remember when that started or if it started?
I always remember.
We
for
always,
me, day one.
We always shake hands before we train. It's kind of that exchange of energy. And one thing I learned, and we all do here, is the instructors before every class, they all shake every student's hand, look into their eyes, and it's good to see you here. Welcome back here. It's kind of
and it's really cool because the students all do it too.
Yeah.
Everybody does it. That's not part of our. We don't require that.
No, it's funny because at my school, Jay, like I do it. But so when 6 o'clock hits, everybody lines up on the wall so I can go shake their hands. But they haven't got it, and I haven't drilled into them. It's like, no, man, it's not me as the guy up here coming in to shake your hand. It's everybody shaking everybody's hand, And it's funny, Jean-Jacques, because it's when I first started my school, the guys come in and say, "What do we call you?" You know what I mean? And I said, "Well, you just call me Chris or Christian. That's my name." They're like, no, I'm not calling you that. They want to call you some professor or something like that, and it's so funny.
I never grew up, and I remember my uncle Helio Gracie.
Yeah.
We used to call him Uncle.
Yeah.
No, Master, Grandmaster, just Uncle. And Hickson, see Hickson, I call Hickson.
Yeah.
And people like, Master, Grandmaster. I understand the lineage and all of this.
Right.
But I never grew up into that.
Yeah.
Such a request or requirement that you all say, hey, Christian, can you show me this technique here?
Yeah.
And man, again, people, they can call me whatever they want. Some guys professor, some guys a master, some guys most often they call my name.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with that.
But it's funny because Jay, we came up like that because I don't require my students to call me anything, but they want to call me something, so they call me coach. And the first guy says, "Man, I'm going to call you coach." I was like, "Well, you can call me coach," but then I'll call him coach. So because I want him to understand, like, man, we're on this road together. I've been here longer for sure, but we're the same. But it's funny because I also have that pressure, like when I'm here, especially in front of my students. I don't like to call him Jean-Jacques, even though that's how we interact with one another. I always call him professor. Or
no, I mean, I always whenever I refer to Jean-Jacques, I always refer to him by his name.
Right.
But when I talk to him, I use the title master or professor, but I always tell people, I'm like, you can just call him Jean-Jacques. The reason, why do you call him master, professor? I'm like, I've been with him 25 years. He's made a huge impact on my life. That's the title. With all respect, like he earned. I have the power to call him. I can call him his name. I can call him that. So that's what I do.
I call him Super J. It's not even just Professor. It's like Super J.
Jean-Jacques, when we went to when we saw Hickson when he was at the Gracie Academy a few years ago. I was in line, at the end of the seminar. I was right next to Eric Paulson, who you know. And Hickson's, we bow. I love the way Hickson, does at the end. He said, let's bow to the instructors. But he always says, not just these two guys. He's talking about Carlos and Helio. He said, but not just these two. He's talking about everybody that's come before us. And then he says, now I'll bow to you in a sign of respect. And so, and typically we don't bow. I mean, sometimes I bow when I'm here. I bow when I get on the mat. I bow when I come off, just because I'm here and this place is so special to me. But I don't require my students to do it. But it's so funny because Eric Paulson, he's whispering to me, and I've known Eric Paulson. We don't know each other. We're friends, but I've seen him over the years lots of times, and he's whispering to me. He's like, "Hey man, Hickson never used to bow out until I asked him. I said, hey man, this is Eric Paulson. He says, I asked Hickson, hey man, how come you don't bow? And Hickson said, because I'm not Japanese. And Eric says, yeah, but this art comes from Japan. He says, Hickson said, yeah, it comes from Japan, but Brazilians perfected it, And but they had I love to hear Eric Paulson. You should try to get Eric Paulson on the He'd be a great storyteller. But he says, yeah, but So anyway, after the conversation, he says, and now Hickson. Every time I see Hickson, he bows. And it's like I don't know if that's how true a story is. I trust Eric Paulson, but it was just a funny story to me. Whether it's true or not, but it's always funny because it's like, and I feel like some of the guys I respect too, like Jiu-Jitsu has always been so non-traditional, Jean-Jacques. Like we call each other by first names. We don't do all that stuff. But now I feel like because Jiu-Jitsu has grown so big, we're trying to add that respect back in. Like as it. But to me, I don't like it because part of me likes it, but part of me doesn't because it's like, man, the respect is always there.
Yeah.
But it's not. I think if you start going down that path, a lot of it can be like fake respect. I mean, it's like, man, like some of these arts, they have so many different names for so many, I can't even call this guy, not even my fellow student by his name. I got to call him by some title. And it's you know what I mean?
Look, when you have your school, it's whatever makes people feel comfortable to be there. And for me, people can say professor or master, and most of my students, thankfully, they call my name.
Yeah.
Which, that's who I am.
Yeah.
I don't rely on the ranking of my belts or anything. I'm just appreciate they're over there. Everybody understand kind of the limits of what they can. Nobody's disrespectful here.
Yeah, for sure.
And all my black belts, we laugh a lot on the mat and all of these. But everybody knows when the technique is to being taught and all of this is there.
Right.
But I want people to come here and feel happy. I want people to want to be here. I don't want something so official that everybody's face you're not allowed to smile or laugh. That's not what Jiu-Jitsu is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, too, I mean, everyone's coming here at the end of their workday. They're already stressed out, probably beaten down a little bit by life. So this has got to be the thing that lifts you up. You don't want to add. We don't want to add to that.
Yes, it's so special, Jean-Jacques, because like. It's like, to me, we've said this before, Jay, but it's like a forced meditation. When somebody's choking you, you don't have time to think about the problems you're having with your girlfriend or the problems at your job. You have to focus right now.
But the result of that thinking, you might be choked out. You have a choice there.
Or you'll wake up.
Put on hold. Okay, hold on. I got to think. My neck's on the line now.
But Jean-Jacques, when you're forced to deal with the situation, you're dealing with somebody choking you, and then when it's over, you come back to your problems. Your problems, now you've created some space from your problem, and it's a different perspective. The problem's now smaller. Doesn't seem as hard to deal with now. Like, man.
We all have problems.
Yeah.
We all have the situations. That's how we see that situation.
Yeah.
People see different. People sometimes victimize themselves. People sometimes,
yes,
I can't deal with that. I'm going to run away.
Right.
I'm going to get drunk. I'm going to do something crazy.
But the problem's still there.
But exactly.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with.
Right.
And my life is better sooner than later.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to move on. And a lot of times people get stuck.
Yes.
Because there's a wall there.
Yeah.
And I have to pass that wall. Today, tomorrow, next year, 2 years from now. But if I want to move on, I have to deal with that one day.
Sooner is better.
And why waiting so much?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what Jiu-Jitsu ended up teaching us is every train we do, we're in trouble.
Yes.
And
I know I am.
We get out, but we get out of those trouble.
Yeah.
And right away. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And even when you get choked, we learn that it's not the end. Like, wow, I'm going to now learn to stop the choke.
Right.
And here we go. And that's how you build up your confidence. You know?
Yes.
And Jiu-Jitsu gives that to you.
Yes.
You like it or not. That's the thing.
Yes.
Some people learn that quick. Some people take a little longer. That's why Jiu-Jitsu is a journey.
Yes.
It's not going to be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, I'm expert. No. It's way more. It's a life commitment.
Yes.
We all have our black belts many years ago. We still come back in love as the first day.
Yes.
That's
I would say to you guys who are listening, if you not training jiu-jitsu or maybe you're taking a break, man, jiu-jitsu is one of the best things because it lets you practice adversity a spoonful at a time. There's other things that let you practice adversity. I think any boxing, top boxing, even running, I feel like anything that's difficult, something that's difficult, CrossFit. But jiu-jitsu is special in a way because to me, the idea behind jiu-jitsu, you know, is mind over muscle. If you guys haven't had a chance to roll with Jean-Jacques or Jay or somebody on that level, it still blows my mind. Like I've rolled with so many world champions, Jay. I mean, I probably roll with at least 12 world champions, and they all kill me. But nobody kills me like Jean-Jacques kills me. I feel like when it's the essence of jiu-jitsu.
You're making bad advertising from me. I don't kill you, man.
I feel like when I roll with you, Jean-Jacques, like no matter how hard, like I almost don't even want to try. Like the harder I push, it's like I'm running to a wall, Jay. Then all of a sudden,
we had such a great time last night. I couldn't do anything to you.
I love that.
Man.
No, I was so happy, man.
I was like, man, this guy, he's holding me here, holding me there.
First time I ever survived. I was like, thanks for taking it easy on me, man.
But going to the adversity, it's an interesting comparison because I'll explain this to people. I'm like, you know, I give them all the benefits of jiu-jitsu and yes, you can run. Yes, you can do like different stand-up martial arts, different things.
Right.
But all those endeavors, you're always in control. I can stop running when I'm tired. I can put the weights down when I feel my body's starting to give out. If we're boxing, I don't want to get hit, I move away from you.
Yeah.
But you come from the land of the A7 gi. Imagine being on your back and having a guy on top of you completely. It's unforgiving, and it doesn't stop until you either get out or you tap and learn and get back at it.
Yes.
But it's that honesty. That's the thing that keeps me coming back.
I am not sure, and I heard that first time from Jay. But people, when you mention that people do not ball in jiu-jitsu, I think you're missing one point there. Because every single time before your training, you do ball. Yeah. Whenever you tie your belt, what do? You look down to the side and ball. Yeah, that's true. I heard that from Jay. I don't know if he read that somewhere but
I think I just read it.
But there was respect right before the training. You know, it's kind of a figure or something up there, right? That once you tie a belt, you look down this way, then you're ready to go.
It's true. It's true.
You know, a lot of people don't realize that, but every time before they start training, when they put the belts on, they look it down the head as a respect.
Jean-Jacques, do you read about Zen at all? I mean, I know you probably read a little bit about it because, but Jay, like I know we went into a lot of the Japanese culture, but Jean-Jacques, so many experiences have I had with you. I remember one in particular. The guy came in, he was visiting, nice guy, whatever, but when he tied his belt, he said. He tied his belt and he said, man, the tab should be, Jean-Jacques, the tab should be on the left side, right? And Jean-Jacques said, oh yeah, the tab should be on the left side. And then the guy leaves. And it's funny because at the time, I think I was purple belt. And because this is questions I have too. And so I say, sorry, Mike, I'll put the mic again. I said, so when the guy left, I said, Jean-Jacques, should it be on the left side? And Jean-Jacques said, Chris, it doesn't matter, man. It's like, the belt, like, who cares? And it was just so, and I was like, I mean, that was so freeing to me. And just like he says last night, there's no right or wrong in jiu-jitsu. You know, you have easy and you have hard, and sometimes what's easy for you is hard for me, and life vice versa, you know. And it's just, every time I have a question, like, it's just some questions, like, I put so much pressure on my mind, like, there's a correct answer to this question, and then I ask Jean-Jacques, and he says, man, you can do either way. And I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, I've been stressed over this for 2 weeks, man. I'm trying to talk to you, you know. And so, yeah, so great, man. So, hey, man, have you read about Zen, or is that just something, maybe you think it arrives naturally when you train something like this?
I think a lot of the things that I know today was through the stories of the prior generation telling us. Every cousin, every uncle, they read something somewhere and they tell you the story. And you're not just, he basically reads the few pages of the book.
Right.
And you keep that in your mind from so many years.
Right.
And let's see if I remember one thing in translating English.
Tell us Portuguese too. Tell us the Portuguese too.
Okay, this I don't remember how young I was, but I think 10 years old.
Yeah.
Quando sentires que o teu corpo tombou e pensares que morreste, levanta-te e luta, pois pelo simples fato de teres pensado é sinal de que estás vivo. Basically, let's see. When your body fall, and you think you're dead, get up and fight. The simple fact that you thought means you're alive.
Yeah. Oh man.
You understand?
Damn, that's good.
I learned that I don't know how many years ago, but that's the fact that I'm thinking. I mean, I'm tired, but I'm thinking.
Oh, damn.
I'm alive still.
Yeah.
I'm not dead.
Yeah, that's good.
And that keeps you going and
yeah.
Those are kind of the priceless moments that I have with a lot of members of like the Gracie family, because we grew up in that samurai mentality environment.
Samurai mentality, yes, man.
And I think that was very helpful to our everyday, in a good way, battle, training jiu-jitsu and overcome. Some days good, some days not so good, but we keep coming back.
Yes, Jay reminds me of, remember The Last Samurai?
Oh, yeah.
When I come here, I rode with JeanJacques. I was like, man, it's going to be a good death.
Yeah, it's a beautiful death. It's all perfect. It's all perfect.
JeanJacques, thank you so much, man, for having me.
Christian,
Such an honor, man.
It was a great time. I think it was perfect timing. We were in town, and we have you in mind for quite some time, and it was a perfect time. And thank you, man, for being here. Thank you for being such a loyal and great guy. To me, it's an amazing school you have in Owasso, Oklahoma.
We look forward to coming soon.
Yeah, I'll be going there at the end of the month. Yes.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited.
But thank you for being here, man.
Yeah,
thank you, and it's great.
And then I have to put it out there because last year was a horrible year, and
man,
you were. I could almost count on it. Every month you called. You just wanted to know how JeanJacques was, how the school was, how I was, how we were doing. I mean, that meant a lot. I could feel it in my heart. Your connection with us, but because I know you're trying to skip out of here without answering the question, and Jean-Jacques almost forgot to ask the question.
What's going on here?
Oh, yes. Everyone has to answer that.
Come on, man.
Okay, I'll let Jay ask that today for you.
Jay, what's going on?
Who is Christian Derr?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. Let me tell you, Christian Derr is a lot less interesting than the guest you had on, but he's just as interested or more interested in what we're talking about here, man. I'm just a very grateful, happy individual. My teacher told me that. I'm just so thankful to have guys like you in my life. Taught me so much. I never had that before, man. JeanJacques, I didn't. My parents were divorced at a young age, so I never really had. I had a stepfather, but didn't really get along. Didn't really respect him that much. Kind of a gruff guy, and not to say that you're my father or anything like that, but man, like the relationship we have has always been of a mentor relationship, and I learned so much from you on and off the mat. I mean, this is like some of the things I can't tell, man, because. It's almost like family secrets, but I just learned so much. I watch you. And when I asked you, man, like this last night, Jay, I'll give you an example. I was rolling with the purple belt and the guy was having problems, obviously. And so he asked me a question. He said, hey, man, what happened when I did this? I said, look, I'm going to tell you the answer. This is what I'll do, but we're going to ask Jean-Jacques because I want to hear what Jean-Jacques has to say. And that's, man, I swear it's so... sometimes I want to ask Jean-Jacques how to do an armbar. Just as simple. I know how to do a freaking armbar, man. But to hear Jean-Jacques tell it, there's always something the way he puts it, or there's a detail.
Always.
And it's so crazy to me. I was like, that's why I don't like Jay Zabalos that much, man. It's like this is people don't realize what they have here, man. It's like,
look, I have to add into that, and for all the people that I know in common with you, and they have great things. They feel so great that you are their instructor, the jiu-jitsu guy around them, all the keys, the thing that you do for your students, bringing them along, going somewhere else, supportive. And that's something that not everyone do that. And I think through the jiu-jitsu, you are making a lot of your students' dream actually become true, man.
Thanks, man.
I really appreciate you. And looking forward to see you over there. Just don't make me roll with everybody like you always do. And I will good.
Thank you, sir. Mike, thanks for being here, man. I know you and Jay do so much for Jean-Jacques, man. I appreciate you guys, man.
Thank you very much,
thanks,
guys.
Brother.
And here we go. I'll see you guys very soon for another No Gi Required. Thank you, everyone. Take care, guys.